Greetings from my office to yours this year. I'm Jan Willis, co-founder of the eBeam Initiative. Like many of you, we'd probably rather be in Monterey, but I'm sure thankful for all the technology our industry helps contribute to bring an event like this to you online. So with that, I'd like to share with you our 9th annual survey results of the luminaries. I want to start by saying thank you to the 77 luminaries who participated in the survey in July of this year. They represented 42 different companies, and like in the past, about 2/3 represent either the mask or equipment segments as shown in the pie chart in green and purple. Now, unlike last year, we've changed many of the questions, and that's because EUV and multi-beam have definitely graduated beyond the when and if questions. But similarly, the questions represent opinions of individuals. And we believe that with luminaries participating, it increases the credibility of the results. Like in the past, I'm your reporter, so I will be reporting the results, but not trying to interpret beyond some of the key insights that we see. I'll leave that up to you at home and to the panel that's going to follow this discussion. We will also post the survey slides as well as the video on ebeam.org after the event. So now let me just give you the highlights first, and then we'll dive into all the questions that were asked. First, the luminaries are predicting that COVID-19 will have a net neutral impact on mass market revenues by 2021. They're also predicting that EUV will have a positive impact on the mass market size as well as driving equipment purchases. And finally, that curvilinear mass shapes will be pervasive by the year 2023. So with that, let's take a look at the detailed questions. So in the first result, the survey says net neutral COVID-19 business impact. And how we get there is that we ask the question, what would be the impact of COVID-19 in 2020 on the left and 2021 on the right. The neutral is shown in blue, and a positive impact of COVID-19 is shown in green, and negative is shown in red. And you can see on the left that the majority, or 76%, is saying neutral to positive, with 24% negative. But in 2021, that changed with the negative going down to 20% and the positive increasing to 24%, outweighing the negative impact and therefore creating a net neutral impact by 2021. Now let's look at what the survey said about the impact overall on the mass market for 2020. And what we see is that 89% predict that it's positive or neutral in terms of growth over 2019, despite COVID-19. And in particular, 33% shown in the green say that the mass market revenues will increase this year. Now, one hypothesis that Hayashi-san from DNP raised last year in the panel was that EUV would have a positive impact on the size of the mass market. So we asked that question this year, and the result is that 66% said that EUV would have a positive contribution to the total size of the 2020 mass market revenues. Staying on the topic of EUV, we wanted to ask about pellicles again. We changed the question slightly. And what we found is that the luminaries are saying 55% that EUV will have pellicles in use in high volume manufacturing by 2022. But 45% are still saying that they either can't predict when or that it would be 2023 or beyond. So I think the results are somewhat inconclusive, and perhaps this is a question that the panel can later shed some light on. We also wanted to check in on perceptions about EUV mask inspection. So we changed it this year, and we asked for agreement or disagreement to 3 statements. And in the first one at the top, you'll see that 74% agreed to the statement that actinic inspection will be used in the mask shop for EUV high volume by 2023. In the second question below it, we found that 48% agreed with the statement that eBeam multi-beam inspection will be used in the mask shop for EUV high volume by 2023. Now, going into the survey, we anticipated that participants would agree with one or the other statement, but with the total coming in at 122% of agreement, we're not sure what the reason is for that. So again, that may be a topic for the panel to discuss. And then at the bottom, we had a third statement where we found that 51% agreed with the statement, eBeam multi-beam inspection of wafers will be used for the purpose of mask inspection for EUV high volume by 2023. Now, EUV also came out as one of the top reasons for multi-beam mask writer purchases. So in a new question, we gave participants 6 reasons to rank on what would be the primary reason for driving or for purchasing multi-beam mask writers. And what you're seeing is by each reason, you're seeing the plot of the responses with the percentage of either first, second, third, fourth, fifth, or sixth place votes shown in the plot, along with the NA answer below it. And coming in first was more throughput for EUV masks. Second highest reason was more precision required for EUV masks. And in a virtual tie, curvilinear ILT for either 193 or EUV. And then in fifth place, more precision for 193 leading edge masks. And finally, in sixth place, more throughput for 193 I masks. Now, still staying on the mask writer topic, we asked a slightly different question this year. We asked the participants to predict what will happen to purchases of new mask writers by each type over the next 3 years. By far the most conclusive result was 96%, shown on the right, believe that multi-beam mask writer purchases will increase over the next 3 years. On the far left, you see that 32% predict that laser mask writer purchases will increase. And then in the 2 middle plots, you see that on the left one for trailing edge VSV, that 24% predict it will increase, but more than that, 40% believe that it will decrease. On advanced VSV mask writers, next to it, we see the equal amount of 27% believe it will increase, and 27% believe it will decrease. In a repeat question from last year, we wanted to find out how many believe, or how many think ILT is in use for production chips today. And 84% said today that a few or more critical layers are using ILT. And that compared in gold to the blue, the dark blue of last year, where 88% answered the same way. And then 3 years ago, and the first time we asked the question in 2017, shown in purple, that was 70% who believed ILT was in use today. So definitely has increased. Now we asked some new questions about the use of curvilinear shapes. We wanted to find out both separately for 193i and for EUV, but we asked the same question. And so what you're seeing on the left-hand pie chart is for 193i, and the result is that 94% believe that some curvilinear shapes will be used. And that is, the result comes from 12%, shown in blue, saying the entire reticle would be curvilinear shapes, to 20%, showed in the gold, saying it would be a hybrid of mostly curvilinear shapes with some Manhattan, to green, which was the answer of a hybrid of mostly Manhattan shapes with some curvilinear shapes. So for EUV, in the pie chart on the right, the result was 85% of EUV mass will have some curvilinear shapes. In a question that we modified but wanted to ask again this year, we found that the participants said 73% would predict longer EUV turnaround times by the year 2023 versus the turnaround time of 193i today. This result aligns well with also the result earlier that the #1 reason for purchasing multi-beam mask writers is EUV throughput. And we returned to a new topic we introduced last year, but we changed the question. We only asked one question to give us a sense of when will capabilities based on deep learning become a competitive advantage for any step in the mask making process. And the result is that 62% predict deep learning will be a competitive advantage by 2022. And notably, only 3% predicted that it would never be a competitive advantage. So with that, the summary is a very upbeat mask market outlook for 2020 and 2021, despite COVID-19. In fact, 89% predicted mask market revenues to stay the same or increase this year. Another big conclusion is that EUV will be driving mask market revenue growth as well as equipment growth in the multi-beam mask writer segment, and an overwhelming 96% predicting multi-beam mask market purchases to increase over the next 3 years. And finally, that the shape of masks will change, with curvilinear shapes on masks to be pervasive by 2023 for 193i as well as EUV. So with that, let me thank again the 77 luminaries who participated in this survey. I look forward to the discussion of some of the questions that the survey raised with the panel, as well as they'll be looking at the mask maker survey as well. So I predict that we'll be seeing each other in Monterey next year. But for now, thank you very much for tuning in, and stay safe.